my name is Gino Arcella. I'm the general manager of a company called AceIt. We do branded uniforms, merchandise, teamwear. We supply through Australia-wide and more recently internationally with our AceIt brand. AceIt was established in 1988, doing sports clothing, initially sports and promotional wear. We've expanded rapidly over the last few years. We've reinvented ourselves several times over. We started as a manufacturing business in the early days, purely manufacturing, but as the market forces with the labour market in Australia and the overseas influence, we've had to reinvent ourselves several times over. We've looked at rebranding our business and becoming more a marketing and solution-based business. I was working for a retailer here based in the Illawarra, but then I moved to Sydney after the business was sold, and I worked for a company manufacturing and importing. A company in Sydney called AceIt Trading. They were importing the very first t-shirt out of China. I don't know whether you remember it, but it was called Double Swan. It was the Double Swan t-shirt brand. I worked for a gentleman there, and he was pretty much the pioneer of the imported t-shirt. So I worked for him for about 3-4 years until his business was bought out by his partner, and he decided to close that element of the business. We had a lot of problems in those days because we were importing, and he was importing on such large scales. We were supplying a lot of the big retailers, Coles, Fossies, but I don't know whether you remember, but the issue were we had a lot of waterfront issues in those days, and the retailers would cancel orders if they were 1.5 minutes late with their products. So the business was very volatile. So they decided to close that part of the business down. So that left me with basically no job, and not that it bothered me, but it was a case of customers were ringing me saying, look, we would still like to do our shirts for the band and the expo. So yeah, basically, the demand came from my clients. They gave me a call, and I was at that time doing a lot of merchandising, supplying printed tees for a lot of the concerts, the bands, advertising agencies. I had clients supplying clothing for the expos and that type of thing. So at that point, I continued that part of the business, and believed that at that point that I would go out on my own and see what can happen. There was nothing to lose. A few years later, I teamed up with a local gentleman here from Wollongong to produce tennis clothing, which is where the name came from. AceIt, we produced a brand of team apparel for tennis, and we called it AceIt. Oh, it's a great place to be. I mean, it's a very livable city, Wollongong. In the early 90s, the price of rents in the city were quite expensive, and we needed space. We had the manufacturing, we'd won a few contracts. So, from starting the business point of view, it was quite an economical area for us to be. People were very good to us. They supported us. Our first contract in the Illawarra was with the Steelers football club. We had a contract with the Illawarra Steelers in those days. Bob Millwood was very good to us, very instrumental in helping us establish the brand, and we were doing a lot of promotions in and around the football. Very strong football town, so it helped being aligned to them. We had promotions in the early days on 200, which they used to have the live calls, and Jack and John Underwood would give us the live ads. It really made our business quite sort of significant in those days. So it launched our business. So people were very good. I mean, considering I was only 21 at the time, people were very good, in particular Bob Millwood. I just think you need to treat everybody, right. There's no easy dollar. There's no fast buck. You need to work hard and treat people. And basically, you need to be able to offer them a solution. If you offer them a solution to what the problem is, that they see as a problem, well then you can basically gain their trust. It's not about making money. If I was doing it for money, I would have sold the business years ago. I have a passion for what I do, and you have to enjoy what you do. Just like a footballer gets paid for something he enjoys. Yeah, the planning, definitely. Passion is something that I see a lot of people come into our business looking for uniforms to set their business up. And they get there and they're very passionate. I started my business with a lot of passion, but I didn't. I probably should have stepped back a little bit and started planning a little bit better than I did. I didn't believe it was necessary, but as I get a bit older, I'm finding it more and more the norm. As you grow, you need to be able to plan, and that's a little bit sort of what most teachers will tell you, but I think it's very, very important. Even if it's only a very brief plan, or brief research. There's no point opening a shop here or there if you don't have the information behind you, because the world's changed. The business environment's changed dramatically. The modern business environment that we live in now really relies on that.